All three of the girls' faces turned ugly after Valessandria made such demands on Han. A part of him considered having them knock Valessandria down a peg or two, but decided to play ignorant was a better card. I am unsure what you are talking about. The things I stated earlier were just an observation on my part. Regarding additional information, I don't believe I have anything that I could provide you with. What were you doing there then? She asked, sounding unconvinced that he didn't have a hand in those dead soldiers. I am just a mere magician who lives near here. My family and I have been in isolation for quite some time, so we are ignorant on many issues. He responded simply. Then, did you have a chance to see what had happened? Valessandria pressed him. Looking like he was pondering her question, Han answered, I saw some flashes of light, so I, along with my companions, went to see what had happened. When we happened upon you, we were already on our way to return to our room. He made it sound like such an obvious thing, and how silly she was being for questioning him. I do have a question related to this academic city you represent. What is it like, and what type of activities occur there? By the way her eyebrows lifted up, this was obviously a strange question to ask. Then her face relaxed some, and she said, This is an odd question, but considering you had mentioned your isolation, I will answer this. Looking like she was trying to calm herself, she continued, Illumin Academic City is a place dedicated to the various fields throughout the world. The city itself is self-sustaining, so has no allegiances to any foreign powers, either in or outside the kingdom. A person does not need to be part of the academic side of the city to become a resident. Many merchants and civilians are living within the walls. We boast one of the lowest tax rates, so many merchants choose to locate their headquarters inside of the city. If one were interested in going into the academic route, what are the requirements to do that? He casually inquired. The idea of going to school in the magical world sounded kind of interesting, and the fact that the city was neutral would allow him to try things out in an enclosed environment. We do have multiple tiers for various ages, which go over different topics. Depending on your abilities and age, we would place you in the appropriate placement. Would this be for you or someone that you know? She inquired. This would be for my son. I have been homeschooling him, but now I wish for him to gain experience in the new world, he said, trying to sound responsible and parental. Of course he didn't have a son, either here or on Earth, but considering his ability, he thought it would be interesting to try going through the whole education system all over again. Even though he may be in that kind of environment, he would still have convenient access to the outside world. Valessandria looked to be considering this, saying, Fortunately for you, we will soon be accepting new students. In a few days, we will be opening up for assessment, so all your son would need to do is pass the examination portion. Due to him being isolated, I worry about how others will interact with him. To help him adjust better, I would like to send these women with him to help ease my concern. Would that be an issue? He asked, trying to make it seem like a natural thing. She looked hesitant but then said, We do have nobles that bring along servants, but there is a significant premium to have people stay with them. Having servants, especially more than one, would require you to live in the housing units instead of the dormitory. All this together would increase the yearly tuition for your son. Valessandria looked like she didn't want to accuse them of being poor, but didn't want to mislead them. Though she initially looked arrogant, it looked like Valessandria was a kind person at heart. So this wouldn't be an issue? He asked. As head of the disciplinary division of the student council, I can assure you that the information I provide is factual. In the academic part of the city, the student council has the final say on decision making. Even a king wouldn't be able to overrule our decisions, which is what makes us so unique. You will need to pay ahead of time to help reserve one of the housing units and placements of the number of servants you'll be bringing. This figure can be changed, but you'll need to pay a proportional fee, she explained. Seeing that this didn't perturb Han, she said, the reservation fee would be 20 gold coins, with a cost of 60 gold coins per year. Would I be able to pay the total amount right now? He asked nonchalantly. Looking at Brittany, he commanded, Bring out my money chest from the safe and give her a bar. Inside of his room was a magical safe designed to protect valuables. Unbeknownst to Valessandria, Han made the chest stacked to the brim with platinum bars. Brittany walked to the safe, which wasn't even locked, and opened it, revealing a secure-looking chest, though this too wasn't locked. Casually placing it on the table, Brittany opened up the chest and pulled out a platinum bar. Taking the bar, she held it up for Valessandria to take. The moment Valessandria saw how many platinum bars were inside the chest, her eyes seemed to bulge out in amazement. With shaking fingers, she took the bar and just held it in front of her. Valessandria's head jerkily turned to look at Han, and her expression told him that she didn't know what was happening. I do hope that will cover everything. We belong to an old family that travels all over, so we tend not to have currency unique to the region we go. If there are any issues, please let me know and I'll remedy them. To mess with her, he purposely made it sound like everyone carried around a chest full of platinum bars. He knew that a platinum coin was worth 1,000 gold coins, so a bar of platinum would be worth several thousand gold coins. Thinking of how disorderly her thoughts must be, he tried to hold in his laughter. By making them into bars instead of coins, Han insinuated that his family was hugely influential. When she went back to the city, she would most likely inform the student council of this event. How would they react to this? There are no issues. Her voice slightly squeaked and stuttered. This was a typical reaction to seeing such wealth being casually tossed around. If there are no other issues, I look forward to my son attending your school. I hope that you will treat him well, he said to the nervous-looking knight. Of course, she suddenly yelled out. I'll make sure that this is correctly received. Please have a good rest. She bowed and walked backward out of the door while Brittany was holding it open. Once the door was closed, he transferred the room into a separate dimension so no one would be able to listen in on their conversation. He then turned to the girls, who all had a similar look. Helania said with a confused look on her face, Master, you do not have a son. The other two nodded their heads in agreement. Laughing, Han responded, Yes, Helania, I do not have a son. He then casually thought of himself looking like a young adult, and said, But they do not know that. I thought it would be interesting for me to see what it was like going to school in this world. Helania, Queen, and Brittany had a look of comprehension as they understood what Han was aiming for. Though the master was beyond anything in this world, they knew that he enjoyed doing whatever he wanted, and so they were more than happy to accommodate him. Now that I look like a young adult, I wonder if the three of you would be willing to come over and spoil me. He tried to look innocent in his request. Helania, Queen, and Brittany began to undress themselves slowly, and after all their clothes had been on the floor, the three of them walked over looking like predators stalking their prey. Queen reached them first and said, Master, you look so adorable now that I want to eat you up. Please allow this older sister to spoil you. She crawled on the bed towards him, looking like a leopard, and began to lick his equipment. The night passed as the three of them continued and eventually ended with Brittany sleeping on top of him, resting her head on his chest, while Helania and Queen were cuddling on either side of him. Enjoying the smell of them and the feel of their body, he closed his eyes and went to sleep. Changing back to his original form, Han said his goodbyes to Ellis and Tom's family. All of them thanked him and let him know that they hoped to see him again in the future. Stopping by the counter and talking to the lady, he made sure that Ellis and the others could stay there as long as they wanted. Most likely, Tom and everyone would be leaving Leaf Village once his task was completed and head back to his home. Han left behind a platinum bar for the lady to give to Ellis. Ellis wouldn't likely accept such a large sum of money, so he figured by leaving it with the woman, Ellis would have to accept it. Once outside, Andrea was waiting for them with the carriage. With the directions he was provided about the location of the city, he let Andrea know so she would be able to take them there. Inside the carriage, Han had Brittany bring them several breakfast dishes. When it comes to breakfast, there was nothing like fluffy scrambled eggs, crisp bacon, and juicy sausages. Though he said that he would try out the dishes of this world, it was hard for him considering how delicious the food was. The excuse he gave himself was that he was looking forward to seeing the city, so they didn't get breakfast at one of the many restaurants in the village. "Master, how long will the journey to the academic city be?" Helania asked him between mouthful. Even though all the girls had large appetites, they didn't seem to gain any weight and maintain their stunning figures. Bringing up a map so that everyone could see, Han pointed at their current position and then to Academic City. Based on how far away the location is and our current pace, we should be there in a few days, just in time for examinations. Though we could get there in a day and a half, if we had the dragon go full speed, or an ordinary person would be able to do if they constantly changed horses. I think it may be better for us to take our time. Considering that they didn't even open up for a new student until a few days from now, there would be nothing gained if we arrived there too early. Though Valessandria was planning on allowing everyone to rest for a day, the fact that she received such a significant amount of money made her anxious. If others knew that she was carrying a bar of platinum, it would no doubt cause her to be targeted by bandits. Not wanting to put her classmates in additional danger, she thought it prudent that they head back. When William asked her why they were departing so soon, she made an excuse about something coming up that required her attention. Based on how he looked at her, he didn't believe that this was the case, but knew she had a good reason for not telling him. Looking back at her fellow students, Valessandria could see that they were exhausted from the hard ride to Leaf Village and having to head back so soon. Though she felt sorry about the circumstances, she knew that they would understand. Those that went with her had a strong sense of duty and wouldn't let such a minor thing get in their way. They had been traveling without stopping, so when they saw Illumin Academic City, there was an audible cheer. Once they entered the city, they would be able to go back to their dorms and rest. Due to having to go to Leaf Village, many of them had to skip out on classes and other responsibilities, but that could be put off till the next day. In front of the city was a squad of guards, keeping an eye out for those entering and leaving the city. With the wealth that was generated within the city, they could afford to have an entire platoon assigned to guard the entrance. The guards formed a battalion with 4 companies inside of it. Each company was assigned a specific task to safeguard the city. There was a City Wall Company, Peacekeeper Company, Academic Company, and Information Company. Each company was composed of 4 platoons, where usually 3 were on duty while the 3rd was resting. The platoon was made up of 4 squads, each one taking a quarter of the day. With this setup, there was always someone from each company doing their assigned roles. "Lady Knight, we are glad that you have returned safely. The student council president was worried about you and told us to keep an eye out. He had also requested that when you return, we should inform you that you are summoned to stand in front of the student council. When we saw you approaching the city, we had sent a runner to tell the president so that the student council would be expecting you. The squad leader informed her, trying not to feel intimidated. As Lady Knight, she enforced the rules and regulations within the academy, but considering how the student council was the ruling authority of the city, she also had the power of the military forces. Even the commander of the guards had to listen to what she said, or risk being deposed. Giving a heavy sigh, Valessandria said, "I understand. Thank you for your hard work." There was no helping being summoned to stand in front of the student council. She had gone against what the student council had said and taking precious students to go off on a suicide mission. Also, she and the student council president often disagreed on a variety of topics, even more so when elections were coming up. Considering the responsibilities of the student council president, where he had to balance the various governments to maintain their neutrality and keep the interests of the students in mind, the benefit of a role had to enforce what the council said and not much else. While the students that came with her went off to their respective dorms and houses, William and Valessandria had their horses go towards the large tower in the center of the city. The tower, where the student council conducted its affairs, was one of the first things that could be seen as someone approached the city. No one knew when or how the tower was created, but the tower had survived through various cataclysmic events. There was not many structures in this world that were as old as a tower.